Any sort of practical work is critical, and that's because it's only by doing that you understand why you're doing. And the classic cases, you can learn the structure of something by looking through an anatomy textbook or a physiology textbook. It's only when you start to dissect something that you realise that it looks nothing like what it does in the book, and it's only then that you can conceptualise what you're working with.
Getting across in a class that there is variation in organisms, and yes, the person sitting next to you's plant had internodes that were this length, but your plant, growing under exactly the same conditions, has internodes that are half the length or twice the length. And so, why is that so?
Without having been there, getting your hands dirty, getting your feet wet, or walking in mud, you won't be able to understand any of that. Students from Asian backgrounds, from suburbs and cities, never seen the sea in their life. I was holding their hands on the beach. They're afraid of drowning. They're afraid of sharks. But for the first time in their life, they lost their fear of water. They had a better understanding of water. They understood more of the marine science. And I was thanked by them. Oh, if I hadn't been for you, I would have never, ever gotten my feet wet on the beach. I was just too scared. So again, they're not biologists, but I've given them something which is, I think, a life-enriching experience. And I think that's important for lots of ways of teaching.
I would regard the practical component as almost more important than the lecture component.
To do something meaningful and to provide them with the social bonding that arises out of the field course. The field course is just a fabulous thing in all sorts of ways.
I believe passionately that all our practical experiences should be students designing and executing original experiments.
Understanding how advances are made in biology through research, it's important to notionally understand the process of how that's done.
They need to have a research skill in finding knowledge. They need to have practical skills when it comes to the doing of biology.
They need to be able to write. They need to be able to articulate clearly what it is that they understand. They need to understand the scientific method, and that clearly revolves around being able to approach a particular scientific problem in the right sort of way.
The risks of failure are going to weigh heavily on their minds, and what you want to do is to encourage them. So I think in first year, for most of those students, explaining in a way that becomes logical how other people have done these sorts of experiments gives them the foundation to be more independent higher up. But what you don't want to do in first year is set up too many students to fail.